All right, I know this is late. I know this isn't ideal, but we're here. We're here, and we're talking first round of the playoffs. We're gonna jump right into it. This may be a shorter recording than usual, but had to get on here. Had to do a little bit of a deep dive, at least, into each of these first round series. And I know that this is gonna come out probably either on Monday or Tuesday, where most teams have already played at least one game, if not two. So sorry for the delay, but we're here. We're gonna get into it. I've made my picks. I posted my bracket on the Instagram account. So if you're coming from there, you've seen my bracket already. And if not, I will let you know my thoughts on how I think this playoffs will play out in totality. But for today, we're just gonna dive into the first round matchups and what we may expect to see from them. I think that I want to start with the most interesting ones, at least to me. And the most interesting, the one that I was looking forward to the most, and I'm still like really looking forward to each game of this series, is the Nuggets versus the Clippers. And they played their first game yesterday afternoon, and it went to overtime. We had some big moments from Russell Westbrook. Jokic had a near triple double, missing it by one assist. Aaron Gordon had a big game. Kawhi had a solid game for the Clippers, and the Nuggets ultimately won. They came back in the fourth quarter, took a crucial game one at home to take a 1-0 series lead. But the reason this series is so interesting to me is because of Jokic versus Zubac. And if you didn't know, Zubac, and they said it on the broadcast yesterday if you were watching, Zubac defends Jokic better than anyone else in his career. And so, of course, you're not going to stop Jokic. You're not going to, prevent him from doing what he does. But you can provide at least some resistance. And we saw a little bit of that yesterday, at least until the third or fourth quarter, where Jokic really was getting to his spots, and at least in the fourth quarter, picking the defense apart. The defense for the Clippers was really stout in the first half. Chris Dunn, Kawhi, of course. Norman Powell played pretty good perimeter defense. And, of course, Zubac. Zubac ended the game yesterday, I think, with 17 rebounds, most of those being on the defensive end. And I think this is a 7-game series. I think this is a 7-game series because of that offset. I think the Clippers have the guard play to really shut down Denver's offensive weapons on the perimeter with Jamal Murray and Michael Porter Jr., who had, I think, 3 points yesterday. And Christian Brown hit a timely shot in the clutch. But I think the Clippers throughout this series will have enough to offset them to the point where I'm willing to say that I think the Clippers win this series. And, of course, we've seen them play great basketball down the home stretch. Last 20 games of the season, they went 17-3, were the league's best offense and defense. And I don't think it's a fluke, man. I don't think that's a fluke at all, especially with the way that Kawhi and James Harden have been playing. James Harden, I will say the scary thing is that James Harden had one of his really standout games yesterday, and we know the track record of James Harden shows that he be disappearing in the playoffs sometimes. He'd be disappearing to the point where he's scoring single digits on like 3 for 18 shooting. So we could very well see that. And if that happens, then I think it obviously spells doom for the Clippers, at least for a game or two. But a big win for the Nuggets. And I think the fact that they were able to win that game yesterday is going to push this series possibly to its length. I hope so. I hope we get 7 games of this. But I'm going to roll with the Clippers ultimately. I just think they have enough offsets to get it done. I think in the Intuit Dome, whenever they go back there for games 3 and game 4, that place will be rocking. The wall will be rocking. And if they can take game 2 or game 5 in Denver, I really like their chances in this series. I'm going to roll with the Clippers. Moving down here to the 3-6 in the West. Lakers Timberwolves. A lot of people are expecting the Lakers to do big things in this playoffs. How could you not? With LeBron and Luka on the floor, Austin Reeves playing like one of the best third options in the NBA, role players stepping up, knocking down shots. But last night was a rough one for the Lakers where the Timberwolves hit 21 threes. Naz Reid and Jaden McDaniels combined for 48 points, 9 for 12 from three. If you didn't know about Jaden McDaniels, he is a career 55% three-point shooter in the playoffs in a lot of playoff games. He shoots 55 from the floor, 55 from three, and of course he's going to guard the best perimeter player as well. He's a playoff riser, and on their team as well, they have a notorious playoff dropper in Julius Randle, who shoots 29% in the playoffs, which is one of the worst marks in NBA history. Before last night, he had a really solid game though last night, I thought. And everyone just stepped up. They knocked down their shots. They guarded really well. They prevented LeBron from getting into a groove early in the game. We know Luka got going. He had 37 points last night, but if you can stop those other guys from getting their own, if you can prevent Austin Reeves from getting off, if you can prevent Dorian Finney-Smith from hitting 4 or 5 threes, Rui from hitting 4 or 5 threes, then I like the Timberwolves' chances in this series. I picked the Lakers coming into it, so I guess I'm going to have to roll with my Lakers pick. But this is another series, especially with the Timberwolves winning that first game, that I think could very well go the distance. And it makes me a lot more confident than I was 24 hours ago in the Lakers potentially making a deep playoff run. They've just got holes. They've got some holes, and they're pretty glaring. And a team like the Timberwolves is not going to let those holes go unmet. Even with a coaching advantage like I feel like the Lakers have with JJ Redick over Chris Finch, the Timberwolves look like the better team last night. And 1 through 8, I do think they're the better team. It's just how much can Luka, LeBron, and Austin Reeves provide you on a night-to-night basis. And you expect one of those guys to give you a lot every night. But if you can't get that from 2 guys, then that might spell doom for the Lakers. So I would not be surprised if the Timberwolves won this series at all. In fact, going into it, I was really strongly considering walking back my pick of the Lakers in this series. Just because we know what the Timberwolves did last year. We know how hot they got, and they looked like that same team last night that we saw in the playoffs last year. But I'll continue to roll with the Lakers, I guess. Definitely don't feel as good as I felt about them 24 hours ago, though. Down to this 2-7 game in the West. This is one of the 2 games that has not had their game won yet prior to me recording this video. So all of this is unbiased on what we've seen in this series after maybe this video drops. So that's a nice little caveat for me going into this one. I think this is another 7-game series. I love these Western Conference first-round matchups, man. The Rockets, of course, coming off a 52-win year, defensive identity, young wings clamping up. And last time we saw these 2 teams play, Amen Thompson, Dillon Brooks, Fred VanVleet, Tari Eason held Steph Curry to 3 points. How often does that happen? I think it happened twice this season. And they have the formula defensively to be very disruptive and throw Golden State off of their game, force turnovers. I think in at least 1 or 2 other times they played this year, they held them under 100 points, which is a thing that the Rockets do quite often. That Warrior postseason pedigree, though. That Warrior postseason pedigree, especially adding Jimmy Butler, who they've been 23-7 since he has joined the team. It's hard to bet against, man. It's hard to bet against if their role players are playing well. If Podziemski and Moses Moody and Kevon Looney, if guys like that are playing well, then I think that their postseason pedigree will ultimately allow them to win this series. I've got the Warriors winning this series in 7 games. Going into yesterday, I had the Clippers beating Denver in 6. And I had the Lakers beating the Timberwolves in 7. I had that one going 7 as well. But I've got this one going 7 between Golden State and Houston. I just think Steph Curry is going to find a way. And sometimes it's as simple as that. Sometimes, you can try to overcomplicate these things. You can try to overthink a series. But I don't think this happens. I don't think it happens this year. And Houston is a very good team. They will, ideally be back in the playoffs for years to come, most likely as a top 4 seed in the Western Conference. I just think this is a bad matchup for them. I think this is a rough matchup. I don't think they can run their double big lineup that they've had so much success with in this series, where they have Şengün and Steven Adams on the floor, and they recover 50% of their own offensive misses and put them back, which is a crazy mark. If you're doing that and you're playing great defense, it's almost impossible to beat you. But we know Golden State likes to go small. I don't think you can do that. I don't think you can do that and play at the pace Golden State wants to play with and defend effectively enough to keep up with the Warriors in this series. But we'll see. I could very well see this series going either way, but I'm going to lean on the experience of the Warriors in this one. 1-8, Memphis and Oklahoma City. Before today, I thought this would be, I didn't have much to say in this series. I thought it would be Thunder in probably 5 games. I still think Memphis can get a game at home. I think they can win either game 3 or game 4. But after what we saw today in game 1, oh man. That was a rough game for a lot of y'all's Grizzlies, a lot of the Grizzlies fans out there. Had it tough today. And I've been very high on this OKC team. I think they're one of the best teams of all time. And for Shai Gilgeous-Alexander to have his worst scoring game of the year, for them to win by 51 points, is ridiculous, man. And I think it bodes very well for the Thunder, especially in like round 1 and round 2. I think as we get deeper into the playoffs, they're going to be tested a lot further, and maybe in a way that they've never seen before, in a way that they aren't used to, especially with them getting knocked out in the second round last year. But I just don't think Memphis, at their current state, puts up enough of a test for Oklahoma City to be realistically threatened by them. I think Oklahoma City just is the perfect antithesis of what the Grizzlies like to do. They're the best team that plays defense against pace, and we know Memphis likes to get up and down. We know they like to thrive off fast break and transition. And OKC is not going for that. OKC is just not going for that. They're going to force turnovers like they did today. And if they're making even like 30% of their threes, then I feel like it's a wrap. I feel like Memphis can take a game if they get hot, but that's like the only way I think they can beat this OKC team. I think this OKC team, before the conference finals, I don't see them losing more than 1 game in a series. I don't see it happening. They just have too many weapons. Their bench is by far the best bench in the league to me. I think Cleveland is the only bench that can rival their bench. And they just have their formula. Their formula, Coach Mark Daigneault has such a great formula. It's built for the postseason. Their half-court offense is good enough, I think. I think as we get deeper in the playoffs, we may see some problems arise with their half-court offense. But for now, especially in this series with the Grizzlies playing the way that they do, I think this is, after today, I could see this being a sweep. But I'll stick with my original diagnosis and give the Grizzlies a game. Give the Grizzlies a morale game. I'll head out east before I reveal the rest of my picks, at least, for what I think will happen in this playoffs. 1-8, I'll go ahead and knock out 1-8 between Cleveland and Miami, because this game is just starting right now. So completely unbiased on what's happened in this series. I think this is a sweep. I think the Cavs sweep this series. For Miami to get in as a 10 seed, which has never happened before, they've been playing better basketball of late. They've been digging in on the defensive end. I really like what Davion Mitchell gave them over the 2 play-in games against Chicago and Atlanta. Tyler Hero has been an inferno, scoring the basketball over 30 points in both of those games. I just think Cleveland has what it takes to shut them down, though. I think Cleveland is not going to allow Miami to get in the lane with Mobley and Jared Allen. I think Miami is going to have to rely on jump shooting very heavily in this series, which they are not very good at. I think Cleveland's offense is too good to have that Miami defense really put up a fight against. I don't think Miami has the wing or interior defense to compete with Cleveland's rack attack, their draw and kick. I think Bam is great, but I think Bam is going to get drawn onto the perimeter. I don't have much to say about this series. I think I'm trying to overcomplicate. I think I'm trying to rationalize too much. I just think Cleveland is by far the better team. They're by far the better team, and we can honestly leave it at that, I think. The 4-5 matchup. The 4-5 matchup in the East is very, very interesting to me. We saw the Pacers run away with yesterday's game. They dominated it from start to finish pretty much. Had the infamous Kyle Kuzma, Tony Snell game yesterday where he put up 0 of everything in 22 minutes. And Dame's got to come back. Dame's got to come back for the Pacers. I mean, not the Pacers, the Bucks to have a chance in this series. And he is likely on his way. They say he's on his way, thankfully. Y'all know how I feel about Dame. He's one of my favorite players ever. Favorite player from my favorite team ever. So I'm really hoping that he's available for game 2, which is on Tuesday. But if not, he'll be available for game 3, they say, which is huge for the Bucks because without Dame, they don't stand a chance. And we saw that yesterday. The Pacers role players are just really, really good. They have a lot of really, really good role players. Andrew Nembhard is maybe the biggest role player, playoff riser I've seen in a long time. We saw it last year. And in yesterday's game, he was outstanding. He was absolutely outstanding in yesterday's game. And he would be the guy tasked with guarding Damian Lillard were he to come back here in the next couple of games. I picked the Pacers in this series, even not knowing what the capacity of Dame would be. I had the Pacers winning this series. If Dame wasn't there in 5 games, and if Dame is there, I still think that the Pacers win in 6. Giannis just can't do it all by himself, I don't think. And I know some people have come out and said that they think that Giannis can. But I mean, Giannis had like 35 points yesterday, and it did not matter. It just did not matter one bit. And if you're not getting anything from Taurean Prince, Kyle Kuzma, Brook Lopez, Kevin Porter Jr., Gary Trent had an okay game yesterday. But if Bobby Portis isn't giving you anything either, then it's wraps. It's wraps. And I don't trust the Bucks. And I wish I could. I really wish I could because I love Giannis. I really love Dame. I like a lot of their role players objectively. But I think as a team, their formula is not great. Their formula is not great. They don't defend as well as you think they would. Honestly, the Pacers look like a better defensive team than the Bucks do. And the Pacers have had a history of being a terrible defensive team. They're 14th defensively this year, which is a big improvement for them. And honestly, I think this year's Pacers team is better than last year's. I just think the competition in the East might be a little stiffer going forward. But even with Dame and Giannis, which is crazy to say, I like the Pacers. If you would have told me I would say something like that 2 years ago, I would have thought you were crazy. But I like the Pacers at full health even better than a Bucks team at full health right now. Down to this 3-6 series. Man, it looked like the Pistons had that one in the bag yesterday. They had the 8-point lead in the fourth quarter. And you don't even get smoked by Jalen Brunson for the most part. You don't get smoked by Cat for the most part. You get smoked by Cam Payne in the fourth quarter, man. That's demoralizing hoops right there. That's demoralizing stuff. And a game like that, it really, I feel like, is a shot in the confidence for a lot of those young Pistons players. Maybe not Cade Cunningham, but Asar Thompson, Jalen Duren, Ron Holland. The vets for the Pistons yesterday were great. They were really great. Tobias Harris had a really good game. Malik Beasley had a good game. Tim Hardaway Jr. did really well. But the young guys for the Pistons, you could see their youth show up. They turned the ball over a ton in that fourth quarter. And I think that they had to have that one yesterday. For them to shoot the ball the way they did yesterday, I felt like they had to have that game to have a real chance in this series. Going into it, I had the Knicks in 5 games anyway. I still think it will probably go Knicks in 5. The Pistons, we know the great year they've had, but man, they had to have that one yesterday. I thought if they had that one yesterday, we could see this series potentially go the distance, but I did not like what I saw in that fourth quarter. This is a series, as we know, got a little chippy yesterday, and we could very well see some chippiness in the next couple of games. We saw Dame and Halliburton get chippy yesterday in that Bucks-Pacers game, which I'm really looking forward to seeing in games in the future in the series. But yeah, it's looking like the Knicks are going to roll in this series after game one. But maybe the Pistons can provide some resistance. We'll see. I'm excited to see the Pistons home crowd in game 3 and game 4. I think that will be a lot of fun to watch, and I think that they will get one of those games. Celtics and Magic, they played an interesting game today where the Magic led at halftime, but the Celtics offensively just looked like they were a little sluggish, they were a little slow, and in the second half they took off. The Magic just don't have enough offense to compete in this series. We've known that since the start of the year, really. They didn't really address it at the trade deadline. KCP had an okay game today, but ultimately they don't have enough perimeter shooting. They don't have enough interior scoring outside of Paolo. They're just not built to beat the Boston Celtics in a series. I think that they could take a game, maybe. For that to happen, I feel like the Celtics would just have to have a really off shooting game, which the Magic are a really good defensive. They defend the 3 really well, but I think the Celtics, even at just average shooting for them, where they shoot like 35% from 3, but they get up 50 to 60 of them, I think that avalanche is just too much for the Magic to overcome. The formula is too much for the Magic to overcome. And if Corey Joseph is your starting point guard in the playoffs, I know Cole Anthony comes off the bench and gives them more minutes ultimately, but Corey Joseph is the starting point guard in the playoffs in 2025. I don't know how I feel about that. I feel kind of gross about that. But the Magic, I think they're going to be okay. I think they're going to be okay for the future. I think they're going to address their offensive problem from the perimeter. And I think once they do that, then they'll be ready to take off. I think they'll be ready to take off then. That's the way I felt for a while, and I continue to feel that way. Boston shouldn't have any problem in this series. Even with their offensive struggles today, they got it done in breakaway fashion in the second half. So I think Boston could sweep the series. The Magic maybe get one game. That's how I feel about that one. The rest of my bracket, though, going back to I guess I'll stay in the East. The Cavs would play the Pacers in the second round in this hypothetical matchup. I think the Pacers have a lot of what it takes to match up against the Cavs. I just think the Cavs are ultimately better. I think the Cavs will win this series in 5 to 6 games. I think their perimeter scoring mixed with their interior defensive presence, the Pacers would have to make a lot of jump shots to win the series. That's what it would be. And I just don't think I trust their jump shooters enough in this series, from 3 at least. They're a very good mid-range shooting team. They're kind of an average three-point shooting team. But I just don't think that their rim attack would be enough. I think Tyrese would have a tough time navigating the interior defense of the Cavs. So I'll go Cavs. And I'll give the Pacers 2. I'll give the Cavs that series in 6. And we'd have a Knicks-Celtics series where we've seen a couple of the games that they've played this year, seen some blowouts, seen some closer games more recently. But the Celtics shoot the ball really well against the Knicks this year. They shoot the 3 really well against the Knicks. It's a fun series. It's a really fun series. 2 really good teams. But ultimately, I just think the Celtics are better. They proved that this year. And I'm not one to say that regular season results are what we can expect to see come playoff time, where a team may sweep a team 4-0 in the playoff or in the regular season, and they could turn around and get beat in a playoff series. I've seen that happen multiple times before. But I think the Celtics are the superior team. I just think the three-point shooting is too much in this series. I think that the Knicks would have to try to match that, and I don't think that they have the three-point shooting to match it realistically. I think that would be a 6-game series. I think the Celtics would take that at 6 games. I think the Knicks could get 2. I think star power wise, I think this is a series where Jason Tatum would shine. We've seen him in the Garden this year, not TD Garden, Madison Square Garden, hit some big shots. and I just think that he would really rise in this series. Going back to the West for these second round matchups, I have the Thunder versus the Clippers. This would be a very, very fun matchup for me. I think the Thunder would win in 5 games. Like I said, I don't see them losing more than 1 in each of these first 2 series, but I like the season the Clippers have had. I've had a really fun time watching James Harden and Kawhi since he's come back. But OKC's formula, OKC's defensive attention, especially on the perimeter, and their ability to defensive rebound is ultimately what I think would win them this series in pretty breakaway fashion. I got the Thunder in 5 against the Clippers. Lakers Warriors. This is the Adam Silver Dream Series. This is what I've got here for the second round. Lakers versus Warriors. Hypothetically, this was one of the series that in a few former videos I said that I really wanted to see as a first round series. We didn't get in the first round, but we could very well get it in the second round. Lakers are going to have to get their act together though to beat the Timberwolves. Lakers Warriors. I ultimately went with the Lakers. I just think that LeBron and Luka would be too much again in this series. I think role player wise, I think I had this discussion on the channel before. I think role player wise, I would probably trust Golden State's role players more, but I just think LeBron and Luka are too much for Steph and Jimmy. And who knows? This is a series that I could see going either way. I just decided to go with the Lakers though. If we got 7 games of that, we would all be eating as NBA fans. I'm going to go with the Lakers winning in 6 though. I think this will be a 6-game series. I like the Lakers. This will be a really fun series. And I think that they match up against each other really well with their lack of interior play on both sides. Their great perimeter scoring, their great rim attack, ball movement. It would be a lot of fun. I think the coaching between Steve Kerr and JJ Redick would be really high level in this series. Western Conference Finals, Thunder versus Lakers. I just don't like this matchup for the Lakers. I don't like this matchup. And I know they beat them in a regular season game a few weeks ago where they had an avalanche 3-point shooting game. The very next game, the Thunder came back and beat them by 20. I know Luka got ejected in that game in a pretty controversial way. But I like the Thunder in 6 in this series. Maybe even 5. I just think the Thunder are too good. I think that their formula is the antithesis of what the Lakers want to do. The Lakers want to dig into the half court, and I think OKC's half court defense is just as good as their defense against pace. They have the league's best defense this season. That's not a fluke. I think their defense is even better than the numbers show. Rotation wise, I think with a shortened rotation, it would be interesting to see who really plays big minutes in this series for both teams. I think foul trouble could be really big in this series for the Lakers. I like the Thunder though. I just think the Thunder are. Is it crazy to say the Thunder are underrated? Is it crazy for me to say the Thunder are underrated going into these playoffs? I feel like people kind of got bored of the Thunder this year, bored of how dominating they were. They won 54 games by double digits. No other team in the West won 54 games in general. They have the best net rating of all time. And they have this formula where you can be in the game and the very next second you turn the ball over 4 or 5 times and you're down 15-20 and the game is just over at that point. The Thunder seem like a team, it seems impossible to come back against them. And maybe we'll see differently in these playoffs, but I just feel like it's impossible to come back from double digits against the Thunder. I feel like once they establish a lead, it's wraps at that point. But yeah, I got the Thunder going to the finals. The young Thunder going to the NBA Finals. And in the Eastern Conference, the Cavs, Celtics. These two played in the playoffs last year, obviously. The Cavs were nowhere near as good as they have been this year. This series, I think this is a 7-game series. We've seen the Cavs and the Celtics play some 7-game series before in the Eastern Conference Finals. I just, I feel like I have to rely on what I've seen from the Celtics. I know the conversation can be had about the Cavs, and you know, they haven't really been able to get it done in the playoffs. They've won, I think, one playoff series in the past couple of playoffs, maybe two. But I do think they're a different team. I do think that they're a more complete team. I think that they have a better winning formula. And I think, like the Thunder in a way, where if they establish a lead, it's very tough to come back against them. But I think the one team that could do that is Boston. I think one team that could do that is Boston. And I just think Boston, and the way that they've been able to win on the road in the playoffs in the past couple of seasons with this core, I think that that's enough for them to take this series. I do think that this would be a 7-game series, but I think the Celtics advance to their second straight NBA Finals, third in 4 years, which is crazy because in 2023, they were 1 game away from going to the Finals. But that would set up Thunder versus Celtics in my hypothetical bracket, the matchup that I've been begging to see since like December in the finals. And these two teams, the Thunder swept the season series in this matchup. They held the Celtics to 27 points whenever they played in OKC in the second half. It's tough. It's hard to bet against the Celtics. It's really hard to go against the Celtics after seeing what they did last season. But I think I'm going to do it. I just love the way the Thunder play. The Thunder defend the three really well. I feel like they have the requisite defenders to match up against the Celtics. I don't think the 2 games they won this year were a fluke against the Celtics. I know playoff basketball is very different, like I said, so that's not the basis I go off of. But I think the Thunder learned their lesson last year against the Mavericks. I think they learned their lesson in terms of having a defensive game plan against stars. And the thing about the Celtics is that they have their stars with Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, but their tertiary role players are the best in the league, right up there with OKC. They're the best in the league, especially on the offensive end. But I think OKC is the antithesis. I've used that word a lot in this video, but so much of playoff basketball is matchup based, and despite their youth, despite their inexperience in big time playoff matchups, finals matchups, I've got the Thunder. And I would love nothing more than to see this series go 7 games. I also think it's hard. It's just really hard to repeat as a champion. And if the Celtics were to do that this year, with the gauntlet they would have to face, I feel like this year would be a true gauntlet for them, barring like players' injuries. Like first round Magic, that's pretty easy. But Knicks in the second round, and then the Cavs in the Eastern Conference Finals hypothetically, and then you see the Thunder in the finals. That's OP. That's a crazy run. And I feel like the Thunder would have an easier run to the finals, even with how stacked the Western Conference is. I just think that they don't have a Cavs waiting for them. They don't have a Cavs waiting for them. It would realistically be the Lakers or the Warriors or the Timberwolves or the Rockets if they were to get to the Western Conference Finals. And I don't think that they can provide enough resistance to really threaten the Thunder before facing the Celtics. And maybe that works in the Celtics' favor, where the Thunder are, used to a certain level of play, and by the time they get to the finals, the Celtics are just so high level that the Thunder have a hard time adjusting, which I could very well see. But I think the Thunder have it this year. I think they have the formula this year. And it's gonna be really fun to watch. But I've got the OKC Thunder. I've got the OKC Thunder winning the finals, which I know a lot of people don't like to hear, but I just love their team. I absolutely love the way they play. So that's gonna be it for today. Maybe not as in depth as I would have liked to gotten into these matchups, but we'll continue to dive in to these series as we go forward. Probably next time I'm on here will be after the first round. We'll dive into the second round matchups where we'll see how much of what was said here stands probably a week or two from now. I expect not all of it to, as the playoffs are always super unpredictable, but this playoffs especially I'm super excited for because I think the teams at the top are so high level that the deeper we get into the playoffs, it's just going to make for some of the best games we have seen in a very long time. And I'm fingers crossed, I'm hoping we get that injury free for the most part. I know injuries are inevitable, but man, I hope we can see these teams play at the level that exceeds what it would be if they were hampered by injury. So I'll end there today. Y'all enjoy watching the playoffs. For y'all Grizzlies fans out there, enjoy it as much as you can, I guess. Yeah, that's all I have to say for y'all. But thank y'all for watching today. I'll be back soon, and we'll dive deeper into these later rounds. Y'all enjoy the playoffs. Peace out.